Hello, everybody. Today I will be talking to Sebastian Deahne, who is working as the Director of DevOps with GoTo. He's been with this company for about 21 years and will give us a short interview about his career journey. Hey, sir. Very good evening. How are you?
Hey Shamila, thank you. Good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for taking time between your very busy schedule on a weekday for this talk show. I know we've been talking about it for quite some time, and finally we were
Yes.
able to make this. Right. Uh, so, Seb, without taking much time, maybe we could quickly get started. If you could just talk about yourself, we can get started with that.
Yeah, surely. My name is Sebastian Deahne. I'm currently a director for DevOps at GoTo, but obviously this isn't how I started. The interesting part is I started in this company or its predecessors 21 years ago as an intern. Then I took a long time studying, or to be honest, being a student in this case. I moved on from being an intern to a backend programming C++ back in the day, and from this more into around 2014, 15 DevOps tooling. This came up as a supportive tooling that you do, but still as an engineer. And then around to check, I think 2016 or so, I went into management. I think we'll talk about this later. And from there, I was manager in our company. We differentiate between manager one, manager two, then to senior manager. And starting last year, I became a director. I'm responsible for teams that provide Kubernetes as a platform to go to as an organization across the globe, essentially. And it's quite an interesting journey. And maybe as a fun fact, before I started at this company that then ended up being GoTo at some point, I did a little bit of Perl web programming, as I think anyone around those times. That was fun. And personally, what I really like is road biking. I do this when I have the time, indoor as well as outdoor. Right now, but indoor is the preference because of weather.
Okay, thanks for that quick introduction. That was short and crisp, right?
Mhm.
So, with this journey of yours, right, Seb, how did you kind of move? Because you're a hardcore technical guy, right? How did you kind of jump to the manager path, or how did you see this? And maybe if you could talk around that bit of it.
Yes, there was actually a major turning point, and I wasn't really quite sure to take this step.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this for quite a long time. So, as an engineer, yes, you want to code something, you want to test something, you want to be on the keyboard doing the work. If possible, isolated, heads down into the task. Management is quite different. At this point in time, let's say, aspiration was rather a type of an architect. I wanted to talk how we are doing things and work with teams. But the likelihood of this succeeding, because at this point we didn't need much of an architect, but we needed a manager in this organization. So I thought, can I have joy in being a manager of a team that does this, what I like to do? And I gave it a try. And it was one of the best things I ever did. So first of all, I did everything wrong that you can do wrong as a manager, as an engineer going into management. Obviously, you're trying to impose all your ideas on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And what you need to then learn over time is to taking a step back. So it was a big gamble for me whether or not I like it. But what I gained from it is that over time you see that what the team can achieve through you, not directly, but you managing the team, and the output of the team as a team is a lot higher than what you can ever deliver as an individual. So technically, by steering the teams a little bit, you can achieve a lot more than an individual as an individual contributor. And that's something that I started to like, to see how teams evolve, how individuals evolve in their personal career in the company, as well as in their soft and hard skills in the teams. So it took a while to see that this is happening, to
Mm-hmm.
gather this as, yes, this is something I value.
Mm-hmm.
But once you accept this and it's something you like, then management is really for you. If you want to really, that's hands down, that's not what management is, as you
Okay.
know.
Okay, that was a very honest conversation talk, I believe, saying that you did everything wrong that could possibly you could do wrong and then learned from it. right? So what are some of the major challenges that you faced, irrespective of whether you were a manager or when you transitioned into a manager before and after as well, which kind of, I wouldn't say force, which kind of pushed you to move forward?
Um, it's about planning and execution. So as a manager, you need to look further ahead, and it's a lame term, so to say, but pave the road for your teams, but stop at some point. You need to give the teams the opportunity to fill out something, to decide on technical levels, bottoms up. Obviously, you need to guide, but you shouldn't give them the full solution and just treat them as, hey, implement this like ABC, because that's not what teams are for. That doesn't motivate the team. As a technical team, and you need to learn stepping away from the implementation piece of it. I myself like to still implement stuff, but not in the line of work, not in the line of being a contributor for my team, because then I will just be a blocker.
Great. How do you kind of hold yourself back being a core engineer at heart, right? When you just mentioned that, you do have to pave the way, but also stop at some point and motivate by giving them directions towards the technical area. As an individual, how do you know when sometimes you do allow them to make mistakes, but not major mistakes, right? So that they learn from it. So what do you do in such situations or scenarios where you know that this is there's not like the best plan, something is better than the other kind of stuff, and your team comes up with something and you think, hey, maybe this is better, right? Do you tell them yours is a better idea, or you go ahead and tweak their idea to make it better? Or how do you handle this kind of situation?
I used to tell them it's a bad idea because of. Then I learned that's not a good idea. Why? First of all, as an engineer, if you got told your idea is bad, don't. You don't like it. You are in a defensive position. Experience the same thing. So what you need to do is ask questions. That's something I learned from someone in the organization. Ask questions and you steer the conversation to this direction. So where are the corner cases? Why do you believe a certain technology, a certain architecture doesn't work? Make up a scenario that obviously should be likely and not a corner case type of thing, and ask questions how this solution would handle it. And if you come to the conclusion that the solution that someone else came up with handled it in the same way or good enough, then it's good enough.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's rather through conversation to see or understanding what this thing's supposed to do. But yes, sometimes I say, maybe not a good idea because of, but I try to rather stick to questions if I can.
Okay. So, and I believe this has actually worked for you very well.
For that, you probably need to ask my teams. But they're not running away screaming, at least not that I'm aware of. So I guess yes.
So you know that it is working.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So Seb, moving on to the DevOps area, which is, kind of the talk in the IT right now, right? Well, how do you think the role of a DevOps engineer has evolved over the years, and what role does it play today?
It evolved a lot. If you look back 6-7 years or so, a DevOps engineer was someone who wrote bash, quote unquote, wrote bash scripts on Linux hosts, hundreds of Linux hosts, and you were providing a little bit of customized abstraction for Linux hosts. You were responsible for patching them. You most likely got some deployable that you need to deploy somewhere. And that's changed a lot with technologies like Kubernetes. We are no longer focused on hardware. We're no longer focused on VMs. We're abstracting a ton and providing a programmable interface on top, or automatable interface on top. And the engineers now, DevOps engineers are more, you have various ways of doing it, but my case, trying to provide a platform that others can use with an easy to consume API, in this case, Kubernetes, and abstracting everything that is complex underneath. So there's a lot of new technologies that come up every time. Kubernetes is an ever-evolving ecosystem. So the engineer needs to keep up with that, try to understand what comes new, and what can help us in our world. So plan it in to see if we need to test something, but also be more familiar with those type of technologies and programming. On the Kubernetes ecosystem, you rarely do bash. It's mostly either Go or you do some Python scripting. I wouldn't say it's scripting. You need to have some knowledge in software engineering. Tests should come naturally to you because you write a lot of code and code needs to be tested. And that's a shift. You go away from this glorified administrator with scripting around towards being able to orchestrate a platform using other tools and trying to the automation and code automation.
Okay.
It becomes more and more important because every company wants to do more with less. Everyone is growing, you have more machines, more services, but you want to stick with the same DevOps team. So you need to start abstracting more and more. And those technologies help you. And that's where you need, as a developer, as a DevOps engineer, you need to evolve, keep up with those technologies, and try to also push for new things.
Okay. Now, in continuation to this, right, when you say as a DevOps engineer, you need to keep up to the latest technologies. How do you do this in your daily work?
It's twofold there. One, I do like technology. I'm a little bit of a nerd in this case. So my home automation runs on Kubernetes here. So it's in my spare time, I play with this. I run a free Kubernetes cluster in the cloud because I would like to see how it is, what technology is evolving. And that's for my personal use case. I can only use a little bit of that to understand what the teams are doing at work. The other part is also that my teams, because they do the work and I talk in one-on-ones and team meetings where they explain things. And when they show me what they have done, I obviously learn how it's evolving, what technologies are out there, what they think is good, what they think is bad. And so it's a twofold story. One, through the teams, how they show me. And I'm personally interested in this. And in my spare time, look at Kubernetes and other surroundings.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting one where, you have your teams explain, the team members explain to you what they have done and learn from that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So what is it that, learnings or tips that you feel that you've had over your career journey? Biggest some of you did speak about. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. So what's interesting is change. This is something that is totally different. As an engineer, change is usually perceived as something bad. An organizational change, role change, and this is something that I came to accept. Change is constant, or the only constant is change, and that's what you at some point need to embrace. As a manager, change is nothing that you should fear. You should say, what is the opportunity from that? And you need to make sure that also your team see the opportunity in this, because you need to manage through change. And you need to help them understand in the similar fashion that if there's change, and there will be change, how to manage that, how to navigate this. And that took a while for me to understand and say, yes, with change comes opportunity. And now it's also me to show this to my teams to say, yes, we do change things. But let's see here, example ABC, it's for the better at this point. I think that's the biggest part that helped me in this case. Other than that, it's you will try things and you will fail. Some ideas that you had, it's only good ideas for you and they don't work out. Pivot. Try to measure somehow objectively if it's working or not. And if it's the amount of people yelling at you, that is a measurement. Then just pivot from this and say, okay, it's not working like this. Let's try another way.
Okay. It's a very different way of measuring. Depending on the amount of people yelling at you, you either continue or let it go. Very interesting, right? So finally, what is some of the tips, or 2 cents from your career learnings and journey that you would like to give to the audience?
What's a little bit different in my career is that I'm in the same company for 21 years now. So you don't need to jump companies every other year to progress in your career. I managed to become a director of DevOps engineering, which is what I wanted to be. And I was able to do this in the same company. So as long as you have a goal and you pursue it, there's a chance that you arrive at it and there is no chance of hopping left and right.
Wow, you just nailed it. Perfect. Is that the only one that you have to say?
I think that's the one that comes to mind. The other was is really with the change. Try to manage change. Try to understand how to navigate change. because then you're happier in this. If you are grumpy at change, then that doesn't help you.
Okay, Seb, that was really a good one. Great. Thank you so much for taking time, Seb. It was very nice talking to you,
You're welcome.
and good luck.
Thank you very much. And nice talking to you as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. See you.
Bye-bye. Hey everyone, I hope you did like the conversation with Sebastian. He did have a very crisp conversation about his career growth. And I think the biggest two takeaways are it is not necessary for you to jump multiple companies. You can still stay in the same company and become what you want to and grow up the ladder with perseverance and, of course, hard work. And the next big thing that he said was about how to embrace change and look at it as an opportunity and navigate through it. And I think one other factor is about planning and execution. I do hope you've had great takeaways from this. Do leave your comments and stay tuned for the next talk. Thank you.